Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Caitom and today we are building another small family home in the world of San Sequoia. My plans for this house was for it to be small, affordable, and to have bold colors. And I don't know if I achieved all three of those things. I mean, you guys can let me know if a 70,000 house is a reasonable price for whatever this house has to offer. But to be fair, it is cheaper than my last house, and I would like to think that my last house is just ever so slightly larger than this one. But yeah, if you want to download this house, you can find it on the gallery under my ID CAITOM Caitom, or you can just download tray files on my Patreon for free as always. All of that and more will be in the description. But yeah, this build is one that I would like to call a mid-century modern-ish because I'm not confident at discerning anything that isn't Victorian or a traditional American house or like a farmhouse, because I think those three are pretty identifiable in my opinion. Although I will say that I aim for this to be mid-century modern, so you guys can let me know if there's even a more accurate label for this, or I might just end up calling any house with low, occasionally asymmetrical roofs mid-century modern. But enough about that. This house is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house that can sleep up to 2 adult sims and 1 child sim. I don't think I had any specific sims in mind when I was building. I was more concerned with diving outside of my comfort zone and sort of spending a bit more time on cluttering, which I will say may or may not account for why this video is longer than my other build, which, you know, I did say was supposed to be slightly larger. But yeah, the exterior is it's a little goofy. The whole shell of it is basically me adding some bump outs and taking away some bump outs, which is why you see the door is sort of in this little sort of caved section. But yeah, I originally wanted this to be like a very orange house, or maybe even green, which is why you saw me messing with the wallpapers. But I did decide to just go for the new paneling that came with Growing Together in a sort of burnt wood color, I want to say. Is it the color of mahogany? Because that's like the only word that's going around in my head right now. I don't think it's mahogany. It's a bit more orange than what I assume mahogany looks like, which would be more red than orange. But again, you guys can let me know, or I'll probably search it up later. So for the windows, again, I'm using these new Growing Together windows, all of them, by the way, with a few extra from high school years, I think. I'm not too sure. But I decided to use a mix of both the more modern windows and the more traditional looking windows, just because I thought it would look a little nice for the sort of grayish colors that I add for this house. Because as you can see, the brick that I'm using is from Vampires, and it has a sort of gray tone, I want to say. And I thought it kind of did well to balance all of the like saturation that you see with all the wood paneling. But then I also go in and add some whites for the fence and the other little bump out. So I mean, I think it's a good balance, and the colors, I want to say, correlate with each other, but yeah. So as you can see, the shell is pretty small compared to this 30 by 20 lot that we're building on. Like I said, I did want this to be, oh actually I don't even know if I said what I wanted it to be, but I originally started out building a small green mid-century house on a 20 by 15, but then as I was like building the shell, I decided to just scrap it, restart on a 30 by 20, and here we are. So right now I'm just figuring out the floor plan, trying to see how many rooms I can fit in here, while also bearing in mind that I need to have enough room for a kitchen, dining, and living. And as I was trying to section off the right side of the house, I realized I might not have enough room for all three of those things, so let's not get too hasty and we can just stick with the 2 rooms and stick the bathroom right in the front. So it's kind of like the half and half sort of thing going on here, for one half is the bedrooms and the other half is the living area. I know some other builders do the same where they just split bedrooms and the living area, so I thought it worked out well. And there's also like a small little hallway for the bedrooms and the bathroom, which, you know, I sort of appreciate, except I didn't know what to do with it. So if the screenshots look a little bit empty in that particular area, it's because they are. But yeah, here we are finally working on the interior before I talk through the whole kitchen. I'm using these Parenthood counters in a what I thought was red swatch, but after seeing that swatch up against like some other darker wood tones, I think it's just a brown that is slightly orange or something. I don't know. I always thought those are red counters or just like a really reddish brown shade of counters, but I mean, I guess right now it looks red to me, but I have been known to not see colors the way that other people see them, mainly because I'm looking at, well, the memory that I'm thinking of is a peach colored jacket that my mom wanted to say was pink or vice versa. I just like couldn't identify like the color if it was pink or peach, but that's besides the point. Here I am cluttering the top of the fridge because I thought I should probably start doing that just to make the kitchen feel a bit more lived in. Although I do realize now, speaking of having things feel more lived in, I don't add aprons in here. I think I could have added it on the wall beside the fridge or just like on the fridge. But I guess I kind of slipped my mind. And I did playtest this, by the way. I did playtest the build just so I know that any of the clutter that I was putting on top of the counters like wouldn't get in the way, because I know I have done that and uploaded those kinds of builds to the gallery without testing, and I'm like, oh my god, I am so sorry to whoever has downloaded it and tried to cook and it just didn't work. But thankfully the good habit of playtesting is coming in clutch, because everything works, everything is functional, or should I correct that and say everything that should be functional is functional. Because for the backyard, I do add a sort of outdoor cooking area, but I also cluttered up all of those counters just so if your sim was cooking inside, they wouldn't want to go outside for some reason if they're like in the rain or whatever. So I clutter up those counters, but I do make sure to add a grill just so the outdoor space is believable. Because you know, that's how Sims is, right? You make things look realistic, but of course, is it worth any function in The Sims? Probably not. But yeah, enough about that, and back to the interior. So as you can see, the floor plan for the living area is pretty open. I'm just going back in and changing some wallpapers just to give the house a bit more personality, or to make it seem a bit more dynamic. Right now you can probably tell there is a lot of orange wood going around with the flooring, the furniture, and a lot of the furniture really. But I mean, hopefully it's not like so overbearing. I think it's kind of cute to have all of this orange wood, because I don't usually go for orange wood, or if I do, it's not as much as this. But right here I'm just working on a little custom console with these two new bookcases that of course came with the new EP. These are the ends of a certain bookcase in the game. There is a sort of normal looking one, but then there's also an abnormal looking one, just because it has like shaped shelves inside of it. I think they're shelves, I don't know. There's just like random openings that are in the shape of like basic figures you teach to your kids, and the ends of those bookcases are really nice just because they taper out and like curve a little. Oh, and I do want to point out that the little debug item I got and put in the kitchen is a seasons item, just so I'm not like using the same kids decoration all the time. And I know Seasons is another pack that I don't usually go into debug for, but it has some pretty good stuff like that. And back to the console. So there's really nothing special to the decor that I add here. It's just a bunch of bookcases, a bunch of boxes from Dream Home Decorator, and just whatever I could use to sort of fill up most of the space. Not all, because I didn't want it to look so messy compared to the background, because let me tell you, that back wall is already very noisy, and I didn't want the clutter on the shelves to be equally as noisy. Oh my god, I added the slablet. So that is an item that functions not the same as computers, but you can play games, you can read books. It's kind of like an iPad, and different than the drawing tablet, because the drawing tablet is just for drawing, but the slablet is like for anything else. So I guess I do place that there. But just a small little interjection that if you've noticed my voice sounding a little bit raspy or a little bit sleepy, your observations are correct. It has been a long day of me struggling in college, and I think right now I'm just about ready to hit the sack. Hopefully it's not too bothersome, because I was considering just having music in the background instead of like music and a voiceover, but I am a voiceover channel, so I can push through. And you know, it's not like it's the first time I am a little bit off schedule. Except the schedule is mainly just for me to consistently upload. But yeah, here we are still in the living room. I'm just trying to pick out some curtains. I do decide to go for these high school living ones. Not high school living, high school years curtains, just because I wanted a lot of the sunlight to continue to stream in from the outside. So I didn't want something that was so large it would block the window, but I also didn't want something like super small. So I thought it was kind of like a good balance. And I looked away for a second, and now I don't know if I've gone to the desk yet. I don't think I have, so we're going to talk about the dining room. Although dining room is a bit of a stretch, because it's kind of just a whole dining set smushed in between the kitchen and the living room. And even the living room is a bit of a stretch, because it's mostly defined by the window that I placed the couch next to, which, you know, isn't really a bad thing. I just like the sunlight on the lounge chair. And, you know, I thought it looks cute. The dining, because it was really short, it's just a plant on top of the table, really nothing to it. I just picked out a random rug, and now we're moving on to the desk. So this little desk space is one that I'm kind of fond of. I'm mainly fond of the little painting thing that I did. Well, not painting thing, I put artwork on top of the tiny living artwork, so it would give it like that orange wood frame. Because the artwork that I'm using is from cats and dogs, and the only frame option is black, so I guess it's not really an option. It's just all of the artwork has black frames. And I thought it would do well to sort of brighten up or sort of warm up this corner of the room. And I think I'm right, because it looks pretty warm to me. But also I do end up changing some of the wallpaper, just, you know, for some visual interest, some architectural interest, and all that jazz. And right over here, I'm just adding some light switches, because I know whenever I start to add light switches, I tend to forget about them. So I went in and put them in all of the rooms, mainly because this is a one-story house and very easy to keep track of where I have the light switches. And here is the hallway that I mentioned earlier, connecting all the bedrooms and the bathroom. I just placed one of these new bookcases and started to clutter it up. There's really not much thought process when I was doing this. I didn't really think about the Sims' personalities, what their hobbies would be. I just knew I wanted to have it feel full. You know, I guess that apartment that I did, the industrial one, was sort of like a wake-up call or revelation that I need to do more cluttering, because it really does help make the house look really lived in. So yeah, here we are in the kids' room. I wanted to go for a space theme, because the lunchbox that I add in the kitchen has a spaceship on it. So I tried to use a sort of dark red and black color scheme, but it wasn't really working out, so I decided to go for something that was sort of fitting for the rest of the house. So again, I continue with the same flooring, that cats and dogs orange/yellow one, and then I add a paneled feature wall because, again, just to give the room a bit more interest if I'm using white wallpaper, which I've noticed I've been using a lot more. I thought I'd be using more of the other wallpaper with the little trim and the one on top, but you know, I guess my decorating style has shifted. But back to the room. So this is what I'm decorating for a child who is interested in, I guess, robotics and space, because I placed an old robotics project on top of the fridge. So I thought it's like the parents here like to keep their kids' old projects, so they have that little robot statue. They're really proud. They stick it on top of the fridge. You can see it at like most points in the living area. So, you know, I thought it's just a cute little detail. Right now I'm just grabbing some other clutter, like some some posters, some artwork, and just like generally what I can add to make this feel like it's for a kid, because I think if I changed the bed to a toddler, it would be pretty fitting. Although I don't know if a toddler would have a pride flag in their room, because I feel like they can't really comprehend that stuff at that little age. But yeah, right here I'm just doing that same trick with the corkboard and the debug parenthood notes that I did. I want to say my last build. I guess I just really liked it so much, I'm just continuing a lot of the same elements from the previous one into this one, which could explain why the shape is quite similar. When it comes to the roof, I guess. I wouldn't really say decorating wise it's similar. I still want to say it's slightly different, but you know, that's subjective. Don't worry though, it's not exactly the same. But yeah. So the decorating that I'm doing right here is just making sure there are some items that are, you know, required for kids. So like the big cat teddy bear, I do place that along with a little critter box for decoration. One thing I didn't add that isn't shown in the speed build, the one thing I did add that isn't shown in the speed build is the toy box. So as I'm like doing the finishing touches, I've already stopped the recording. I remembered, wow, this kid really has nothing to do on this lot. Let me make sure I have a bunch of the skill items and the hobby stuff. And I add a toy box, I think in the room, and it functions. And there are only like 4 toys in it because I just got it off of the build buy mode. And then in the backyard I add a monkey bar. So there's a lot for your child sim to do here. And here we are finally in the parents' room. So because I imagined this house to be a bit more bold when it comes to colors, I do decide to go for a darker themed bedroom. And that basically just means I use a lot of red, a lot of brown, although the brown sort of comes in later, and also the layout. Right here is where I shifted the layout. I originally was gonna have the bed kind of like you'd hit the bed as soon as you walk into the room, but it was like a 5-tile wall, and I know the last time I did a 5-tile wall and had the bed be off center, I didn't know how to fill that little extra space, so I decided to switch it over and put it underneath these windows. I think it looks a lot better because then the 5-tile wall leaves me a bunch of room to add like a mirror, a wardrobe, and like whatever other hobby items I wanted to add. And speaking of hobby items, I did think about what kind of hobbies a sim would be interested in if they were living here, so I do include some cameras. So I guess you could say one of them is a photographer. They're like really into just creating in general, like again with the photography and I guess creating traditional media. But then I also included a drawing tablet, so let's not forget the digital media. So over here is the 5-tile wall that I mentioned, where I add a wardrobe. I think I wanted to add a tripod as well, but because it takes up so much room, I thought it would be a little bit odd to just have it open all the time. So I just deleted it. I mean, I don't think it's that expensive, so hopefully your sim can buy it. With the artwork, again, I am doing that same trick with laying the cats and dogs artwork on top of the tiny living artwork, and that's pretty much it for the parents' room. There's really not much else to it, and now we are finally working on the backyard. So over here you can see all of the items that I wanted to include. I didn't forget a trash can. I included a grill, except not that one in particular. I also include the bikes because I haven't used that much, and I actually haven't seen any of the gameplay, so I thought it'd be nice to kind of just include it and maybe encourage if you guys haven't either. I also add a telescope and a water balloon bucket. I wanted to include that little kiddie pool just because I couldn't include an actual pool, and you know, it's nice to have something somewhere outside to just lie in when you are wanting to feel the sun. And I think that is kind of all that I add here. I kind of go through some rearranging phases. I also include a outdoor dining set, but with the rest of the landscaping being pretty simple and some other outdoor decoration, that is pretty much all of the build. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video and would like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already, and feel free to join the Discord if you want to just hang out or chat with other people who enjoy Sims content. Anyone and everyone is welcome. Of course, if you want to download this build, it'll be up on the gallery under my ID caitom. Tray files and details of the build will be in the description box below. Thank you again for chatting with me, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.